Assalamualaikum everyone, I'm Muqaddas Education Wali and I'm a student in Rehan School Foundation course batch 2. Today I will be asking Maya some questions based on the evolution of a quiet command. So let's get started.
Hey, what's new?
So I'm going to ask you a question based on the evolution of a quiet command. Can I start?
Yeah, go for it. I'm listening.
Okay, so what does the word actually mean and when it is commonly used?
Shh, that's interesting. It's almost entirely about getting someone to be quiet, right? Like you're telling someone to hush or to be silent. I think it's rooted in that desire for immediate quiet, like when you want to tell a secret or avoid being overheard. I'm not sure about an exact origin story, but it feels pretty primal. Just the sound itself mimics being quiet. When's the best time to use it, in your opinion?
Okay, so how did the sound become a universal signal for silence?
That's a great question. From what I gather, it actually taps into something pretty instinctive. The she sound itself is made with the tongue in a way that's just quiet. You're kind of mimicking the action you want, right? Takes someone to hold their breath versus actually shouting about silence. Shows up early in language development too. Babies make that sound naturally when they're figuring out how to talk. Makes sense that it would stick around as a quick, almost universal way to tell someone to be quiet. Though, I'm curious if it actually is truly universal. What do you think? Do different languages have totally different ways to shush someone?
Yeah, maybe. So, in which situation do people usually use the command shh?
I think the main times are pretty obvious, telling a kid to be quiet, trying to keep a secret, or when you're being sneaky about something. It also feels like when someone's being too loud or inappropriate for the situation, that's when you'd use ish. There's this immediate urgency to it, like you need quiet right now. Though sometimes it's used playfully, like with kids, right? Like a gentle way to keep them from making noise. Does that line up with what you see?
Okay, so how is understood across different languages and cultures?
Hold on, just checking that out. Okay, so it looks like Ash for silence is actually pretty universal in its way. The idea of using that sound and that gesture is understood in a lot of places, but linguistically, it's represented differently depending on the language. Mandarin uses something that sounds like she, and Spanish uses pretty interesting that we can all kind of grasp what it means when someone says she, even if they're not speaking English. There's also this quirk where sometimes it's more gentle when used to keep kids quiet versus more urgent in other situations. Plus, in texts, that stitch thing gets tricky. Could mean everything from shut up to so happy or even something related to mental health. Language can be weird like that, right?
Okay, so why is a simple sound like more effective than words for asking someone to be quiet?
That's a really interesting point. I think it's because it bypasses the whole cognitive processing thing that language does. When you say, please be quiet, someone has to actually hear and understand the words, process what they mean, and then decide whether to be quiet. But it's almost instinctual. It's like a reflex. The sound mimics quiet itself, and there's also something about the way you use it, the soft sound with maybe the finger to the lips gesture. It creates this immediate connection, just taps into that primal need for silence in a way that words don't. So it works quicker. It's pretty clever when you think about it.
Okay, so how has the use of changed from the past to modern times?
Hold on, let me check that out. So apparently, the SAA sound we know today has a pretty long history. Back in Proto Germanic, where English originally comes from, it used to sound like sk in a lot of words. Over time, that sk sound softened, became more like, and eventually settled into the s we use now. Even the way it's written has changed. At one point, they'd write it s or s, and even French scribes tried their best to figure out how to write the sound. Pretty wild how something so simple as telling someone to be quiet has such a deep history.
So, what role does body language play when someone says shh?
Oh, the finger to the lips thing is huge, right? It's not just saying shh, it's this whole package deal. The gesture almost visualizes the sound, like you're physically showing someone, put this barrier up between you and sound. It's basically mimicking being quiet with your hand, and it reinforces the command way more than just the sound alone. The body language is also universal, even. Mhm. I think there was something there, but couldn't hear clearly with that transcription. Something about good dance. Is that right?
Okay, so can shh sometimes be considered rude? Why or why not?
Yeah, that's a good point about the rudeness factor. I hadn't thought of that. I think it really depends on how you deliver it, right? There's a difference between gently shushing a toddler who's being noisy and abruptly shushing an adult who's mid sentence. The latter can feel really dismissive and condescending. With adults, especially, it seems like it's saying, your voice is inconvenient right now, which isn't the kindest message. The intention behind it probably matters too if you're genuinely just trying to avoid disturbing others versus trying to shut someone down out of annoyance.
So, how is the command shh used in schools, libraries, or public places?
I think in those settings, it's all about maintaining order, right? Libraries and schools, especially, use it as an immediate signal to regain quiet when things get too loud. There's this shared understanding that it's not personal, it's just a way to keep the peace for everyone. So I bet the tone matters. The librarian doesn't want to feel like she's making everyone uncomfortable with her tone. More like, hey, we need to lower our voices or something like that versus, hey, be quiet. What's the vibe like when you're in those spaces and you hear that command verse when they're asking politely?
Yeah, so what does this evolution of shh tell us about human communication and social behavior?
I think I'm missing something there. Was that supposed to be tell us instead of Dalek? If you meant tell us, I can address that. Or if it's actually Dalek, I'm totally lost.
Tell us.
Could. Mm-mm. Okay, I think I'm having trouble hearing clearly. Did you say evolution or something else?
What does the evolution of shh tell us about human communication and social behavior?
Right, that makes sense. So the evolution of sh actually tells us quite a bit. It shows how deeply connected language is to our bodies and to shared social understandings. We evolve this instinctive sound because it actually helps us communicate a complex idea, silence, instantly. Plus, that shared gesture reinforces it. The fact that it exists across cultures suggests it taps into something really primal about how we manage social interactions and maintain group harmony, and how it gets used differently based on context. Gentle for kids, more direct for adults. Shows how we adjust communication to suit the situation. It reveals communication is less about precise words and more about these universal, embodied cues that connect us on a fundamental level. Makes you wonder how many other social cues work this way without us even realizing it, right?
Okay, so thank you so much for answering my questions. Bye.
Of course. Glad I could help you explore all that. Bye.